When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
About the past and about the future.
What's up, everybody? Back at Draftvice.
Draftvice.
Woo! All right, so we're here, we're back, and we're gonna do. This is more of a newsy episode. Been doing some fantasy stuff recently, and this episode's more about kind of like what's been going on. Finish up the predictions as far as the AFC East is concerned. The way too early predictions, and then we're also gonna talk about some of the news that's been going on, because some suspensions have been handed out, some suspensions have not been handed out. In the case of one very famous receiver. Anyway, so we'll start with breaking down some of the news stuff. First, right off the bat, I mean, I know it might have been talking about some of the stuff in the past, but Chris Herndon got suspended for 4 games.
Yes,
I know
he did.
you're a big Jets fan. That probably insults you a little bit.
No, good Jet fans knew it was coming. But like on a lot of websites, I saw like.
Well, I didn't say you're shocked by it. I said
Yeah,
you were
no, yeah.
insulted by it, because you said that it went down as a
It went down
substance
as
abuse.
substance abuse, but I feel like it's personal conduct when you get arrested for DUI. So it wasn't like they tested him for alcohol and found it.
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
So I mean, it's like when they test for marijuana, it goes down as substance abuse.
Yeah.
But what's funny is they don't get arrested for marijuana. It still needs to be worked on the CIB with Goodell and what he's allowed to do. But he got a DUI, 4 games. We knew it was coming pre-draft. Pretty sure that's why they said they drafted the tight end. But of course, there's people out there like, wow, I can't believe he was, driving drunk this close to. I'm pretty sure it happened in like February or January.
Yeah, it's stupid, and I mean, we've seen that happen. I think what the issue is with marijuana charges, they don't test you for marijuana. Whereas when you do get the DUI, they test you if you've been drinking. So if you failed the alcohol test, they actually have some kind of testing measure to go by. That might be the major difference there.
Yeah.
Because I know if you get the charges dismissed a lot of times with the marijuana charges, then it might not affect. That's one of the few times where if they get the charges dismissed, it might not affect their standing on the team or in the NFL. There's a couple of other suspensions. Incognito got a 2-game. Richie Incognito, now the guard for the Raiders, got a 2-game suspension, and they picked up Jonathan Cooper to kind of fill in his role for a little bit at guard. And these are the guys who they're replacing Kalishi Osemele, guy who got traded to the Jets.
Yep.
With. And I think Incognito played pretty well the last time he was on the field, but he kind of went bananas a few times while he's not been on the field.
He had the whole bullying thing in Miami, which.
But he can't. He went to a funeral and was like flipping out.
Yeah, it was his mother's funeral.
There was
something.
I thought it was his father's.
There was
some family member.
He was like flipping out.
So yeah, there was a thing with that. So he got suspended 2 games for personal conduct. There's Tyreek Hill got suspended 0 games, folks. 0. Total of 0. Actually, I heard they suspended him for 0.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know if we have to get really into the details of that case. But he got suspended 0 games. So I think, but what this effect is how it affects the Pat Mahomes situation. People might have been interested in seeing if Pat Mahomes was going to take a step back either way. But I know what was factoring into a lot of people's worries about Pat Mahomes was if he didn't have Tyreek Hill. It also affects fantasy football, how you're going to draft your guys there.
Yeah.
So since Tyreek Hill is getting suspended 0 games, I think that's a positive for Pat Mahomes. If you draft Tyreek Hill in fantasy, like that's a player who is for a lot of people is a top 10, top 12 fantasy player.
And
receiver.
I'm gonna release a buyer beware on Tyreek Hill also, because the report said that that there is no evidence, right?
Yeah.
And the investigation is not temporarily closed, but for now it's closed. They said that if there's any new evidence, it can absolutely open up again.
Yeah.
And of course, we all know that there's a huge difference between an NFL investigation and a legal investigation.
Yes.
Because the NFL can be like, oh, your boogers look weird, and they'll open up an investigation on you and find some way to suspend you if there's enough people chirping in the background that they want you suspended, considering the matter of his suspension. But buyer beware on Tyreek Hill. I just don't think that what I think this took care of. I think he is going to be a Chief, because I think it's I think they're comfortable in the fact that he is not lying to the team, as per Kareem Hunt, who was.
Yeah, that was the basis for why they released Kareem Hunt.
So I think Tyreek Hill will be on the Chiefs, but
or at least that gave them the reason to hide behind it and say that's why we released Kareem Hunt, was that he lied to us.
Correct. But I also think that I feel like if I worked for the Chiefs right now, and let's say it got opened up again, Tyreek Hill winds up getting like a BS, like 2-game suspension or something like that. I think there's just too many factors of a he said, she said to say like, oh, see, you were lying at this point. So I think
he's also, what he adds to that team is a totally different thing than what Kareem Hunt adds.
Correct.
So having a star receiver is different than having a star running back.
I think Tyreek Hill will be a Kansas City Chiefs. I just think that he may not play 17 games this year. 16 games, sorry.
Ben Watson, I think we've talked about a couple of times on some episodes, but I don't think it's been clearly stated. He got suspended for 4 games. He's the Patriots' tight end. They also had released Austin Seferian-Jenkins, as we discussed in another episode. So the tight end situation in New England's a little weird right now. It seems like a lot of these tight ends have been. It's been weird no matter what since Gronk's been gone.
Since Gronk's been gone, I think it became weird when they had a serial killer as a tight end.
Well, that was a few years ago now.
Listen, for all you kids that may or may not be listening, if you want to be in the NFL, perfect. If you want to be a tight end in the NFL, perfect. Don't play for the Patriots.
Well, Gronk never murdered anybody as far as we know.
No, he didn't. Every other tight end is something weird with them.
Okay, so and then the Bills might cut or trade Lesean McCoy. And this is funny because we were just talking about this on the fantasy podcast. Backs, and Lesean McCoy, I mean, he's in his 30s. That we were looking at that roster. They have a lot of players on that roster, including Frank Gore, T.J. Yeldon. They drafted Devin Singletary. And all these guys have varying levels of what they add to the table as far as a player goes. I think Lesean McCoy still has some level of value, though.
Yeah, I think
he's a good pass catcher. He's got some lateral quickness to him. I know a lot of people compare Devin Singletary to Lesean McCoy, but like that, you don't have the proof yet as far as can he really play in the NFL.
Yeah, I think if they do cut him or trade him, I think it's post preseason. So they're going to see something in another running back that they have.
They're going to get confirmation.
Exactly. They're going to wait for confirmation for this. This is a big player for Buffalo, especially for like the fan base.
Yeah.
Buffalo's a very fan base driven team. So you can't just cut Shady. And remember, when they did get Lesean McCoy, they gave up. I feel like they gave up something big to.
It was Kiko Alonso.
No, to Philly.
Yeah. They traded Kiko Alonso to Philly, and then Philly traded him down to Miami.
Yeah.
So I get that they had traded some assets to get Lesean McCoy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're also a couple.
But that's a few years
ago.
Yeah,
we're years removed from that. But I think
it's just the identity. He was the guy that people see and associate with the Bills right now.
Correct.
Like their rookie, their quarterback's still in his second year. He wasn't amazing as a rookie. Lesean McCoy was part of the team that got him to the playoffs. You saw them get rid of Tyrod Taylor. Now they have Lesean McCoy still. They built up the O-line again. They put some real investment into the offensive line. So losing Lesean, I think they are now looking at it as going, hey, are we going to cut early on a running back who, has some good lateral quickness still, but maybe not. Is it not going to be?
Do we know what his contract looked like?
I don't have it off the top.
But my whole question is why? Like, are you saving that much money?
Possibly. I mean, he probably had a bigger contract than a lot of other running backs. He's probably got nothing holding over the cap, so keeping him to even like you're saying, after if he has no guarantees left, it might not be that big of a deal if they keep him all the way to the end of preseason.
31 years
and
old,
keep in mind they have Frank Gore on the roster, so they have another aging running back, but they probably didn't pay him that much to be there. So they have a guy who can be in the locker room and kind of be a supportive environment. Yeah, that's a lot of money for a cap hit for an old running back.
That's the reason why.
$9 million.
$9 million. I mean, that's
a lot.
That's a lot of money.
And it's probably not guaranteed at all because he's several years in on that contract.
Mm-hmm.
Or is there
2.6 a dead cap?
2.6.
Yeah, but compared to the other years where it's 11 and 18,
That's
so,
probably why they kept him.
Yeah.
They extended him for a bit.
So this is really like almost like his option year.
Yeah,
he has,
the $2 million cap, it's not going to be that big. Plus, since they're cutting him after June 1st, it would be spread over 2 seasons.
Exactly. Yeah.
Losing Lesean McCoy for them would probably not be that big of a deal, and getting that much cap space would be helpful, probably.
Yeah. Especially if one of these guys shows them something during the preseason.
Yeah, and TJ Yeldon's a solid running back. We have never seen him really be this, amazing player, but we've seen, again, like I said, there's investment on the O-line. He can catch out of the backfield. I would not feel worried having him as my starting running back. I wouldn't feel impressed or amazed, but I'd feel okay.
I also don't think that the Bills this year really are playing for a lot. I mean, they can come out, they could be a good team like they could have been any other year, but I just feel like if this is the year where they cut a bigger guy, let's not call
Save
it
some assets.
a rebuild, but like a little mini rebuild, start, putting some money in the cap for next year. I don't think it kills them.
No, I don't. And again, getting rid of somebody whose cap hit, you're saving $7 million on your cap. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're getting rid of him and Devin Singletary, rookie. You got T.J. Hilton. You got Frank Gore. I think there's a lot of potential there that they're going to do it or trade him. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him though. Who's going to trade for him?
Well, we were talking about one of those holdout teams in the last episode. Maybe if one of those teams.
But if you can get a guy like Duke Johnson compared to him, somebody who's a little bit younger. Plus, again, you might not have to pay that much to get him on as a free agent.
I think though that the holdout situation, I don't think age really matters in that situation because you're only signing him for really the year anyway.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to be like a trade and sign guy.
Yeah,
right?
I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to cut him and somebody's going to sign him.
Yeah,
and it's probably going to be one of those teams that might have a holdout running back.
Mm-hmm.
Some other news was Gordon, and we were talking before about holdouts. So we talked in the fantasy podcast about this. We never talked about it on a regular podcast, but Gordon and Elliot are looking to potentially hold out even into the year. We saw this with Le'Veon Bell last year where he didn't sign the franchise tag tender, and this might be a thing going forward, especially for running backs who, again, have a short lifespan on the field. They take a lot of hits. It's a very replaceable position. And if you have an opportunity to go ahead and get some money for, some life-changing money down the road, I can understand why a running back would say, I'm not gonna risk my body. I'm not gonna risk injury. I want a new contract. I want some money. I want some guarantees. I want, put a ring on it. Dallas, put a ring on it. San Diego, LA. Put a ring on it. They want to get married. They want some money. Yeah. And again, these two guys are elite running backs. They're probably top 5 running backs. I understand.
I think there's a huge difference. What's the age difference between Gordon and Zeke?
They might be the same age, but I think. Well, no, I think it's maybe a year or two.
Yeah, I really do see the Zeke deal getting done.
I do too. I think we talked about that on the fantasy episode. Yeah. That I think Zeke. They want Zeke. They want to keep him. Absolutely. Because actually, not for nothing, Zeke's one of those players that makes the O-line better.
And also, I think that he has talent that nobody else has.
I think is the best if you're talking about in between the tackles running backs, I think he is the best in between the tackles running backs, and I even say that above Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
I think he's got the speed, he's got power, he also is elusive. I think he's better, and I've said this before, and people who I know a lot of Giants fans, they will probably murder me for this. I think he's better than Saquon as far as in between the tackles. I think Saquon's a better receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah, I just feel like he's an elite guy. Like where Melvin Gordon, all right. So you have when I was like. I guess I don't know when, but yeah, to me, I put Melvin Gordon in this category of 3 guys, and I know you're not going to agree with one, but I have Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, and Leonard Fournette. Mm-hmm. Just because I think draft year, stuff like that, they kind of all seem like the same person at one time for me.
Well, I think Leonard Fournette's not as good of a pass catcher.
Not as good, but I'm just saying in the same category, like just 3 guys that I always compare to each other. I just feel like those are 3 guys you can compare to each other. Now you take Ezekiel,
I think Zeke's. Oh no, I agree with you on
And
this.
like
I
you
think
can't
Zeke's the next
compare-
level.
Like
up.
you just can't.
I think Zeke
Who do you
is
put
the next
Zeke
level
in the
up.
same category as? And
And
a
I
lot
don't
of people
disagree with you
argue
on that
you
part.
don't. You
No.
don't put Zeke in the same category as anyone. Like you.
Yeah.
Like the top three.
But
guys,
I do like Melvin Gordon, and
Oh, no,
I think
yeah.
Melvin Gordon is in that tier of running back where he is better than the league average running back.
Correct. I also think Melvin Gordon can hold out because he's on the Chargers, and the Chargers.
He's also on the 5th-year option.
Exactly. He doesn't have like the team doesn't have a lot of reasons not to give him his money. Like they have Phillip Rivers on their way out. They have a couple of
I
big
could see them saying we don't want to pay him. I could see them sitting there.
But
going
who are they
like,
paying instead?
Other players on the roster. You know, you got Bosa coming up on a contract. You have Melvin Ingram on a contract.
Bosa's coming up in 2 years though.
Well, that's after the 5th-year option. You could start paying him after this year. He's in his
Yeah, oh yeah,
third
you
year.
can re-sign him. But what I'm saying is, I really don't see them having like another, like Keenan Allen. Who would you rather have on the team, Melvin Gordon or Keenan Allen?
I don't know, because I think I can replace at least I can't replace Melvin Gordon, but I can replace a good chunk of Melvin Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could replace a good chunk of Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is a good receiver, one of the best route runners in the league, good hands.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the guy who I compare to, one of the guys who I compare Amari Cooper to is Keenan Allen. Those guys are they're good route runners. I think Keenan Allen's got better hands than Amari Cooper.
Absolutely.
I think there's not a lot of guys in Keenan Allen's like range that I see as a receiver that I like better than Keenan Allen. And he's gotten a decent amount of touchdowns for a guy who's not really a red zone weapon.
Oh yeah.
So he gets open. He's a good part of their offense. It's a hard one to make an assessment on, but I think what you can get out of, and keep in mind, like, they might have to trade for a running back going into the year because they didn't draft one. But a guy like Duke Johnson, a guy or sign Lesean McCoy once he gets cut. There's a lot of opportunity for them to potentially replace Melvin Gordon. I think the Cowboys are more stuck with Zeke than
Signing Zeke.
Yeah, I think they're stuck with signing Zeke
And I think Zeke
and giving him the money.
could have the personality to really hold out too.
Yeah. Oh, I think Zeke's got bigger balls than a lot of people.
I think that he's owed more money too.
He was definitely part of the reason why they even made it to the playoffs the last few years. So,
And Dak not doing as well as he did
yeah.
helps Zeke's argument too.
Yes. So, I think Zeke's going to get a deal done because I also think Jerry Jones likes Zeke. I think he made an effort to get Zeke.
But there's the battle of personalities. You're gonna, that's gonna be headlined.
I think Dak's going to be the one who's going to get fucked in the end as far as the contracts go, which depends on your
True.
definition of getting fucked. If you think you're getting fucked by getting what you're probably owed versus getting paid top end, like whenever the new quarterback hits the market, they usually get the top salary. I don't think he's getting the top salary. I don't think he deserves it.
No.
And I don't think they're going to do it.
No.
So I think with Dak, I think he's the one who's going to probably have to take a hometown discount. Zeke doesn't deserve a hometown discount.
No.
He deserves as much money as he can get, and he's probably the best running back in the league, and he's healthy.
Yeah.
That's something that doesn't get said for a guy who plays as much as he does. He stays healthy.
Well, it's because of what he does when he's not playing. The guy is a workout freak.
Yeah.
He's a freak of nature with workout freakish abilities.
Yeah.
Never taking the day off, and he should be rewarded for that. But let's talk about a little bit of the situation that could be if he holds out, considering everything with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones versus Zeke Elliott.
Well, the one difference these two teams have compared to, say, the Steelers last year with Le'Veon Bell is both these teams can trade these players without getting that player to sign off.
That's true.
Because they're both under contract. So they could say maybe they turn to a team that maybe hasn't negotiated with him yet and say, hey, we'll take a 6th rounder or 5th rounder. We'll stick him on your team. I don't think they would do it. I don't think either team would do it. No. I think it would probably take at least a 3rd or 4th rounder to get one of these players away from your team.
Higher.
I don't think so. Because you're talking about a running back still.
You're still talking about running back, but you're talking about the best running back in the NFL.
Well, Zeke versus, say, Melvin Gordon, two different value charts.
Correct, absolutely.
I think Zeke, you're probably right. Probably
Let's
take
talk-
a minimum a high 3rd pick.
That's what I want to talk about. Like, let's just play this out in our heads. Holdout situation. Zeke is full holdout. He doesn't want to play. Zeke versus Jerry Jones after 2 years ago now. Jerry Jones was like fighting for Zeke against Roger Goodell. I mean, that could be a crazy situation.
It could be. And
That would be insane.
and Jerry Jones is one of those guys who has an ego, and he's one of those guys who's like, he's also not afraid to pay people. He paid Des Bryant. He had no problem paying Des Bryant. He had no problem keeping Des Bryant. He tried to keep him as much as he could. That was part of a institutionalized thing. And it also comes down to Stephen Jones and what he believes in. Yeah. Because he has been the big director of this new franchise turnaround. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he has more to do with it than, say, Jerry Jones does. Yeah. And you could see it in how they value players. So I think that they do end up paying him. In the theory of what do you think it would cost to trade for Zeke, I think they won't part with him for less than the third round. I could see Jerry Jones saying, you know what, fuck you, I'm not going to trade you, that you're on my team until the end of it. Or I could see them saying, you know what, hey, somebody wants to pay us for this player. They're willing to pay him to get him to be on their team. But I think Dallas is just too in love with him. I think Dallas likes him. I think he's the identity of Dallas too.
I think if they let him hold out too, it also shows like a big problem that's with their general manager or management in general, just not thinking how much they would have to pay him. And let's say there was,
but they have a lot of cap left too.
They do have cap.
That's
left,
a team that has more cap.
They did spend a lot though. I mean, not spend a lot.
They have a lot of cap going into next year. They have a lot,
and
because they haven't spent much in a little bit.
Yeah.
They used to be that team that always was up against the cap.
Yeah,
and even up until this year, the next year they have a lot of free cap.
They re-signed Cooper though, correct?
No, they haven't signed.
They haven't signed Cooper when he got traded.
That's the other issue. They didn't sign him. They didn't give him an extension when he got traded for. So you have Amari Cooper, you have to pay Dak Prescott, and Zeke Elliott.
And I'm pretty sure you got the lineman too, right?
Zach Martin. Did he get an extension?
The newer one.
Yeah. Connor.
No, he was only last year. I think there was one in between that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, the right tackle. You're talking about Lale Collins. I don't think they re-signed Lale Collins. I don't. I think they draft somebody.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, or they try to replace him in house. I think Melvin Gordon's more likely to get traded out of the two.
Yeah.
And I think it's a way higher likelihood. And the teams I could see doing it, a team like the Colts would be an interesting marriage. But they didn't want to spend on Le'Veon Bell, so what would make me think that they would spend on, say, Melvin Gordon? Except unless you thought, hey, we'll give you an extension, we'll give you some guaranteed money, but we're not going to pay you more than $10 million a year. Like, that's the question you have to ask. Like, if you're Melvin Gordon, would you take 2 years of guaranteed money, a couple of years of guaranteed money, but you're not getting paid as much annually?
Yeah.
Because right now he's on the last year of a deal. Mm-hmm. That's the value of him holding out is, hey, I can get injured, I won't get paid next year.
And we also have to figure out like where his mindset is.
We also don't know what he's been offered.
Exactly. Or does he want to be a Charger for life? Does he not care? That's a big thing, you know.
I think I know there's some players that care about that. I know there's some teams that builds that. I think the Chargers don't endear themselves to their players very well.
Philip Rivers definitely, but they couldn't get rid of him.
Well,
they didn't want him in
but
the first
Eric Weddle,
yeah,
Eric Weddle, they fucked over and they were playing games with. So
LT they let go of.
Yeah, so they don't endear themselves to their own players very well.
Whenever I look at where I could see a player possibly going, I pick the same area, maybe different conference. So like, I'm gonna throw one out there: Kansas City.
That's the same division, same conference for Melvin Gordon.
That's right. That's what I meant. But like,
he's the same division.
Yeah.
I don't see them trading to Kansas City. I think the team that I could see them trading him to, if you're going to talk same side of the country, Seattle. San Fran. I think Seattle would be the perfect pick for them because that's a team that doesn't mind having a good running back, paying up for a running back, would invest that kind of capital, would trade a fourth rounder, third rounder.
And they got two young running backs they could include with that trade. They got Penny and who's the other guy? Chris Carson.
And J.D. McKissick. They have a few players on their roster.
That'd be crazy. That'd actually be crazy.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon.
On the same team as Russell Wilson.
DK Metcalf.
But according to rumor, DK Metcalf's not even predicted to be in the in the 3 receiver sets right now.
I think he will be.
I think he'll eventually. I think he'll grow into.
Did you
it.
see the
A
video?
lot of times receivers it takes a year or two for receivers to really take a step forward. Anyway,
Pete and I understand Pete Carroll's like a crazy guy
Yeah.
when he's coaching. But did you see the video of when DK Metcalf came into the war room after getting drafted when he met Pete Carroll?
was it when he had the shirt off?
He walked in with no shirt on, and Pete Carroll immediately took his shirt off. I mean, that's a lot of love. And I get
Pete
it.
Carroll's an interesting character.
Yeah,
He's a cool
DK
cat.
Metcalf, he was all combine hype, but
I don't think he was all combine hype.
no,
he
he's
had
a
hype
good
before
player.
That.
I mean, he's a
He didn't have a lot of production because he had an injury issue. So he had some injuries. He wasn't the main target in the offense. There was a few reasons why he didn't go in the first round. I think he has that potential to be a first round player, but I think and I think he will end up returning dividends. And it's a great thing they got him in the second round. I like what I saw from him. I think he has some. I think he'll be an interesting player down the road. Like I said before, though, receivers transitioning to the NFL takes some time.
oh yeah,
Especially learning the full scheme, learning the full book, and also getting chemistry with your quarterback.
Yep.
So those are the 2 major holdouts. And another Gordon, I could see him going to. What about Jacksonville? Because
who's Jacksonville got right now?
they got Leonard Fournette, but they've been tired of him for a while.
Yeah,
I could see them trading him. I could see them.
Jacksonville's weird. I feel like Jacksonville needs to rebuild, and they're like doing it, but also they're like not doing it. Like
Yeah.
it's like a rebuild without a rookie quarterback, without like it's a weird rebuild. It's like they tried to rebuild and then like they paused and then
Yeah.
they like restarted rebuilding after a couple of years because they had
They
the
just
one
try to
good
throw
year.
money at it. They
Yeah,
just try to throw
yeah.
money at it. And sometimes that works. It worked the one year and then didn't work the other years. But, they figured out the bum issue to having Blake Bortles as your quarterback.
Yeah.
And hopefully Nick Foles, it will be a bit better. So
Then they have no wide receivers now again. I just feel like, Marquise.
which would be the benefit of having Melvin Gordon on your team because you'd at least check it down to him.
Yeah.
And he'll get some run after the catch. I could definitely see that being a thing if they really don't want to pay him and they can get some real value for it. And that's a team that I don't know if they're not. I don't think the Chargers are that smart down the line where they would do that, but it would be a smart move to get rid of him and get something for him in return. Texans as well.
Texans. I can see a Texans.
Except that I wouldn't like him on the Texans
No.
for the one reason that O-line is jank.
And also, like the most minuscule point ever, I think that Chargers, if they do hold on to him, they'd want to hold on to him. You got to remember they're going into that new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Their fan base is kind of like crappy right now because of the whole stadium issue, because of them moving
From San Diego to
more
LA,
people
yeah.
more people in San Diego want them than anyone else want them in LA, especially considering the Rams moving to LA and being definitely the better of the teams moving. But they will want.
Well, initially, it was a
not
weird thing.
initially, but for God's sakes, they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But you have to remember, like, that's going to be they're going to want to have a substantial team.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of a rebuild. They want a substantial team going into a new stadium, especially when you have that direct competition with the Rams.
Yeah.
Just like, Giants and Jets. That's what you want. Let's
true.
not forget what the Jets did the first year they were in the stadium. That was a big deal.
And the other holdout we were talking about before was Chris Jones. He was going to be a training camp holdout, D tackle, D end on the Kansas City Chiefs. Basically, one of the few pieces of their defense they even have left from last year. Good player. They have Spagnuolo now coming in as their D coordinator. I think they'll give him a deal. I think they were looking to extend him, and that's going to be a key part of their defense going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't worry too much about him getting an extension at some point. He might just hold out throughout training camp and get a deal during the year. He might get a deal before the end of training camp. It might be
The old Darrelle Revis holdout.
Yeah. I think that was the extent of all the news. We were also going to talk about the AFC East because that was the last way too early prediction that we have not done yet. So let's talk about it. Yeah, we got the Jets, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Bills. And what do you think about it? Since you are in that division, where do you think it's all going to land?
Well, I'm in the division I currently play. No, I'm just no, but
Clearly a Miami Dolphins fan.
I mean, it comes down to the Patriots. It always does. I think this might be the last year it comes down to the Patriots. But it's whether the Patriots start to fail. I mean, I do think, and I'm trying not to be play some favoritism, but I do think that I really think the Jets have an opportunity to make it their division this year. It's just whether they're going to play to their ability.
I think the thing that's holding the Jets back is that they could have went a whole different direction with their GM way sooner.
Yeah. Oh, no, exactly. This could have been done 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't hate Gase. I feel like there would have been more uniform identity going forward if they had gotten rid of McCagnon going into the. I know that a lot of times you don't want to fire your GM going into the draft, and that was the real worry. But you gave the guy the opportunity to sign people in free agency, and he I don't think him and the coach were on the same page. So I think that might be what holds them back a bit.
From what I've been seeing, I've actually gained a lot of respect for Gase.
No, and I don't have anything against Gase.
Yeah.
I'm saying the fact that the GM and Gase were not on the same page going into it will hold them back.
What I was going to say was I have a lot of respect for Gase's knowledge of the roster
Construction and value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think he's a really good coach that can do well with what he's dealt with.
Yes.
So I don't think that is going to have that much take on Gase. The Jets have this thing called One Jets Drive, and it's kind of like a little inside mini series. Mm-hmm. And the first episode came out last week. And I was watching the episode. A huge part of it consisted of Gase breaking down Darnold, and Gase, he was a quarterback coach, right?
Yeah.
So his understanding of what Darnold can and cannot do is something that Todd Bowles didn't have 1 ounce of.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. So
that's why a lot of these the big move has been for offensive head coaches and offensive coordinators, because knowing what your offense can do, you can usually find the guy who can put together the good defense. It's pretty hard to find the guy who can get your offense to work. And considering the NFL is, I think it's like 50% is offense, 35% defense, 15% special teams is what leads to your eventual scoring. Having the guy on the roster, having the guy who's running everything, who's got like over 50% of the value.
Correct. I think that you can put a bunch of really good defensive players together, and they will play great.
Yeah.
You can't just put a really bunch of great offensive guys together without having the right coaching and understanding of how they're good and how they have to work together with each other for there to be a success.
Yeah.
The other thing is I really like the clips that I saw of Gase in the not training camp, but
But you think that it's going to be Patriots 1 this year?
I think this is the thing. When I was talking about the Jets, there's a lot of storylines that can play out in the positive.
Yeah.
I feel part of the reason they got Gase is because Gase, in a way, is a Patriot killer. I mean, he has a really good record against the Patriots in the last couple of years. With the Dolphins, I think he has an improved team from the Dolphins team with this year's Jets.
Depending on the year, because I think his first year with the Dolphins where they made it to the playoffs, he had a really good team, at least as far as the D-line went. He had a good D-line. He got the best year out of Tannehill that anybody's ever seen.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that this year's Jets are better than those Miami Dolphin teams. I think that, even when the Miami was like really, really bad, he upsetted the Patriots at least twice or 3 times, those end-of-year games, even with like Brady playing and stuff like that. It wasn't like a BS game. Last year they had that run back, right? Then they have the 32 lateral play and crushed them at the end.
Because they put Gronk in the end zone as a safety, and apparently Gronk can't play safety. Who would have thought sticking your tight end at safety was not going to work?
No. So as far as the Patriots, I just think it's like I read an article today. It was like they're technically tight end list. The Patriots, it's like if that's going to have a Gronkless Patriots is really going to affect them. I think it does, just because I don't think the weapons are what their weapons were. Mm-hmm. I think they. Not last year's team, but like a couple years before, like if you took Gronk out of that situation, they'd be fine. I think the situation that they're in now without Gronk they don't have that Chris Hogan aspect. They don't have the.
Well, now Hogan's on a different team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't have that Chris Hogan like guy out of nowhere, which they probably will because they're the Patriots. They'll just have some
Dorsett
guy.
or
Exactly.
N'Keal Harry will step up.
N'Keal Harry is something to look forward to, I think, for the Patriots. I think he will be successful. Forgot to talk to him. Well, we were talking running backs, that's right. But I think Sony Michel is only going to get better on this team. I think that their line maybe could use a little bit of help to be perfect.
Don't forget though, Isaiah Wynn. You're talking about
The Patriots.
Patriots. Isaiah Wynn didn't play last year.
Yeah.
So they lost. They might they lost Trent Brown in free agency, but they're going to have Isaiah Wynn back. They consistently spend picks on the line in mid rounds, and they always seem to grab guys that seem to be coach. You can coach them up. They got a guy this year whose name's unpronounceable, like in the 3rd or 4th round, and he's going to be an interesting interior guy.
He fits the bill.
Yeah, I mean, if they have an issue, and they turned Shaq Mason into a real player. They seem to develop. They have Dante Scarnecchia, who's one of the best O-line coaches. If you can get Dante Scarnecchia out of fucking New England, I think you'll have a better shot.
Yeah.
But right now,
assassination attempt upcoming.
Or just pay him to leave. I'll give you $1 billion. If you're Woody Johnson, that might be with the deal you might have to go make. I think it'd be considered tampering, but still.
But I do think that that's the competition this year. I didn't like Josh Allen on the Bills last year.
I didn't, but they found I think the coaching staff is building around him, and I think even though I don't believe Josh Allen was the best quarterback in his year, and even though I don't believe that Josh Allen should have went ahead of Josh Rosen, I think that you can build an offensive scheme around him. He's very athletic. He's very big. Sean McDermott's used to dealing with a guy like Cam Newton. He comes from
Josh
Carolina.
Allen has the arm or doesn't have the arm?
He has that arm. He has a big arm, but he's not very accurate.
See, the thing is, all right, but they're wide receivers now. Who they have? They have Zay Jones still, right? No? Yes?
Yeah, Zay Jones.
Zay Jones is their top wide receiver. Who else do they have to go down there and catch the ball? See, if I was the Bills, I'd be focusing. I thought for sure Moncrief was going to go to the Bills this year. I thought he would have been a perfect fit for the Bills.
Well, Moncrief was an interesting one because Moncrief, I don't know what's happened with him. Now he's on the Steelers.
Yeah.
And I liked him when he was on the Colts, but his thing was he was just this big athletic dude. Then he went to Jacksonville, and there was just better receivers on Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Even though they didn't keep him, because I think part of it was that they're
they did. The Bills. I'm just looking at it now.
They signed John Brown, who was an interesting pickup, and a guy who can go. They're trying to have it where they can't outthrow him. Basically, they want guys who are going to run downfield and get separation.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was looking at. Also, Cole Beasley in the slot.
Yeah,
from Dallas. So that's pretty good.
They also signed Mitch Morse to. We were talking about the O line, Ty Nsekhe to be their tackle as well. They really want to build up that offensive line. They want to build up around Josh Allen. And keep in mind, Sean McDermott, defensive-minded guy, but very willing to adapt.
Mm-hmm. They also picked up Croft, too, from Cincinnati, tight end.
Croft is an okay tight end. I think it was just they didn't want to keep paying Charles Clay.
Yeah.
That was I feel like that was I'm going to screw you move. I think that was a Rex Ryan idea, is that they gave him a deal on that transition tag from Miami. Mm-hmm. To screw with Miami, and it kind of bit them in the ass because they gave him a ridiculously stupid deal. So this was their way of saying, hey, we're going to get rid of Charles Clay. We're going to get a tight end who is at least going to be a serviceable tight end who can play. We know he knows how to play tight end in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He might not be amazing at it. And they also drafted a tight end, too. Mm-hmm. Dawson Knox out of Tennessee.
Miami.
Ole Miss, Tennessee. Ole Miss.
Miami, you got the big move coming in after the draft. They take Josh Rosen from Arizona,
mm-hmm.
and
I think Miami's the
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I think Miami is the one that's most likely to be fourth.
Yes, that's
in the division.
That's what I'm saying. I still want to pay attention to Miami because it's going to say a lot about Josh Rosen. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the number one quarterback to have on your team if you want to learn something about the other quarterbacks on your team. He's a good competition quarterback. He's also got that mind. He's the smartest.
He's also used to learning new schemes and new playbooks.
Yeah, adaptable.
And a lot of guys say that they have learned from him, having him on the roster.
Yeah, he's not a
so
young
it's a
guy
beneficial thing for Josh Rosen to be on the same roster as Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Now, do you think there's going to be a real competition in preseason for that job, or do you think it's either one of those guys' jobs?
I think it's going to be real competition.
I think so too.
And I think the competition will make him better. And I also think that Ryan Fitzpatrick will kind of hopefully tutor Josh Rosen and be that kind of kind of good quarterback mentor, and he's been known for doing that. So I think Rosen's going to have an interesting time in Miami. I think it doesn't benefit them to stick him out there right away anyway. They don't have a great O-line.
Typical Ryan Fitzpatrick team.
Yeah. But the thing is, Ryan Fitzpatrick also has that thing of, he'll run around, get injured. He'll throw 5 interceptions. He'll do some crazy shit and win you a game with 5 touchdowns.
6 touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah, so
he'll throw you 5 interceptions, 6 touchdowns in the same game.
Yeah. So I just don't think Miami's deliberately in a rebuild mode.
Yeah.
They've made it known, and they're trying to do what the Browns did a few years ago. And I think they're doing it better, at least for the most part. So I don't mind what they're doing, but I don't think they're going to be in the running this year.
No.
Whereas I think the Jets and the Bills are at least going to try to win.
Yep.
I feel like I'd be pulling for the Jets to take over and win it out if it wasn't for the fact that they weren't on the same page with their GM, so that was a shit show.
Yeah.
And 2, the Patriots are still the Patriots. And 3, not for nothing, there's cohesion within the Bills organization right now, and they are building what they need to around their players.
So when it comes down to our way too early predictions, what do you have?
I have it Patriots, Bills, Jets, and then Miami.
Okay. I have my standings prediction, and then I have 2 separate predictions outside of that.
Gotcha.
My standings are Patriots, Jets, Bills, Dolphins. My first prediction is that one of the AFC wildcard teams will come from the AFC East.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the Jets or the Bills, depending on who's second in the division, will make the playoffs. And my last one is at the end of the year, Ryan Fitzpatrick will assume a position on the New England Patriots, making him...
You think he'll be the new quarterback?
Well, not the new quarterback, but I just think that he's going to complete the AFC East tour, and he'll be the only player, I think, to play on Buffalo, New York, Miami, and New England. I just think that he's a good player too to have, because I don't think Brady's going to stick around for whoever this rookie is.
No.
So I think Ryan Fitzpatrick may be that guy that they bring in as that elder, Brunel, like a Brunel or a who was the guy the Jets just got rid of.
Josh McCown.
Josh McCown for their rookie, who I do think, and that's another thing, I do think that if the Patriots don't have a good year, they're going for a quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. And next year's a good year to do it, or even the year later.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of wraps up this episode. It was a fun episode, a lot of suspension talk. And a lot of talk about the AFC East and where that's going. I think that wraps up the way too early predictions. So
now it's just early.
Now it's just early.
Now we just have to do every team over again. But
Yeah.
It's just early. It's not way too early. They're in training camp. But, it does make sense. You're going to have injuries coming out of training camp.
Well, we will do almost kind of like a power rankings episode eventually, or eventual where we think everything's going to really land in the full NFL. How I think that where everybody's really going to stand going in. And I think we'll go with that on another episode. And hopefully we'll have finalized predictions for all the divisions at the beginning of the season. So I think it's going to be an interesting year for football, man.
Football, yeah. I just said that football, yeah. No, I think it's going to... Football, yeah. No, I think I do agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot of things different. I don't think the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl, because I can say that because it's AFC East, right? So I think I don't think the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. I actually don't think they'll be in it either. But so I feel like a lot of things are going to. I think this is going to be how do they say, changing of the guard year.
Yeah.
No
But
pun intended.
anyway, so if you want to follow the podcast on Twitter, you could follow it at Draftvice. If you want to follow it on Instagram, you could follow it at Draftvice_football on Instagram. Yep. You can follow me at Brojo Death Punch. That's BROJO. Death is in the end of life. And then punch. Yum. I hope you know how to spell punch. Anyway, and that's on both Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all platforms. You can follow me at Brojo Death Punch. And Steve, you are?
You can follow me on Instagram at Pums, Pums 142. You're not going to see anything football related on that, but if you want to follow me, I don't give a crap. And also, what you probably might want to follow is our fantasy league by state is going to be the first followable fantasy football league. But it's very interesting. We got a lot of.
It's an interesting league.
It's like the drama mama of fantasy football. But we're gonna.
You say that, and I've been doing stand up for the last year, and I can. You guys would never understand the level of drama that comes through that.
One of his jokes was based on our league, and it was a true story.
It was.
But yeah, so we're gonna make it a followable fantasy football league, and you'll want to follow it. So yeah, I don't have a handle for that yet, but next episode next week we should have that done.
Thanks for tuning in.
Peace out.
We're on the same
When I
side.
woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
About the past and about the future.